Hey everybody, this is Charlie, the Pennsylvania grain farmer. It's Sunday, April the 3rd. I'm up here at the red shed. Yesterday I was out plowing and we had a pretty nice day. Had some warm weather the day before, which really dried things out nicely for us. So I was able to get out and plow. I got a good bit done, but partway through I noticed that the wear parts on my plow were starting to get worn down. All the wear parts other than the mold boards were brand new at the beginning of the season, and as of the time that I changed them yesterday, I had probably plowed about 50 acres with this plow this year. So you know, you think about it, with a 4-bottom plow, that means each one of those bottoms is, you know, turning over about 12.5 acres. And it was getting to the point where some of the frame was getting exposed and it was going to start to wear. So I had to change the points yesterday, and I didn't get video of that because I was just in too much of a hurry because I wanted to get out and plow. But I noticed that the shins weren't you know, in quite as bad shape. They weren't quite as urgently in need of changing. So, you know, I figured they'd go another few more acres to the end of the day, and I'd change them today. And since today we're getting some rain and snow, and the temperature's only in the 40s, I have the white 2110 and the International 720 plow pulled into the red shed here, and I'm going to change the shins. And so I thought, well, I'd just do a quick video on that and show a little bit about the wear parts on a moldboard plow. To me, moldboard plowing is starting to be a lost art among farmers. Not that many people do it anymore. I'm very old school, and I'll be the first to admit that. Moldboard plowing works for me. I know that there are benefits, and I know that there are you know, bad things about it too, just like there would be for no-till and other methods like that. And I know that each farmer has to make his or her own decision and do what works best for them. I don't think that there's, you know, one method that works in all cases, but I know for me, I enjoy moldboard plowing. I think there are a lot of benefits. There are a lot of problems that I don't have that some of my neighbors have because they aren't plowing the soil up. And I've even heard, you know, in the last couple of years that, you know, some of the farmers are finding out that even if they don't moldboard plow every year when they're planting something, sometimes it's beneficial maybe to do it, you know, every so many years, like every 5 years or every 10 years. So maybe in some ways it'll see a little bit of a little insurgence, or resurgence, I guess is the word. So I just thought that I'd take you through this little tour of the moldboard plow and the parts that wear out and have to be replaced. So hang on just a minute here and we'll get started. Looking at a moldboard plow, there are a number of wear pieces that a farmer has to deal with. I guess we'll start down here at the bottom. This long piece, which on my plow is 18 inches, is called the Plowshare, and a lot of us just refer to it as a plow point. This is the part that's important for actually, you know, this point digging into the ground. This gets underneath the soil and lifts it up onto the rest of the plow bottom. Over here you have the shin, and this also rides in the earth on the side, and it's what cuts the side of the furrow and gets the dirt on the moldboard. And then the moldboard here is what flips the soil over, because that's part of the idea of plowing, is to, you know, raise the soil up and flip it so that what was on top is now on the bottom and vice versa. And then up here at the top, we have something called a trash board, because sometimes depending on what you're plowing and how deep, things might go over top of the moldboard and, you know, make kind of a mess, where this helps to keep that from happening and keeps the soil rolling over nicely, especially whenever you're plowing deep. Okay, on the other side of the same bottom that we were just looking at. This is the plow point or share, and this is the shin. Then here on the left side of the plow is something called the Landside. This plate, it's like a wear plate, and it rides up against the side of the furrow that's just cut by the plow, and it acts sort of like a bumper. It shouldn't necessarily be in contact with that furrow edge all the time, but you know, whenever something does happen and the plow goes sideways, it does help to keep the plow in line. This often wears out pretty fast, so International uses a wear pad on this, and that's actually a good thing because this wear pad, it keeps the Landside from wearing. And the nice thing about it is it's reversible and it's cheaper. This item here is only about $13, whereas the Landside itself is $27 or $28. And like I said, this one, because it wears, you know, like down here, you can flip this over, just turn it end for end 180 degrees, and you get double the use out of it. So those are the main things on a moldboard plow that have to be changed. What we're going to focus on today is the shin, because yesterday I actually changed the points on this plow because they got to the point where they were starting to wear into the frame. They were worn off that much, and I had more I wanted to plow. I didn't want to stop and do the points, but I actually had to. The shins, I usually change with the points, but I was trying to save some time yesterday, and the shins weren't worn down to the point where they needed to be changed yet, so I let them alone. But if you look at this right in here, you can see that the edge of the shin is actually worn down to the frame of the plow down here, so that's why this needs to be changed before I plow anymore. The Landside and the wear pad and everything else is still pretty good. So we're just going to focus on this. I didn't get any film of doing the plow points because I was in too much of a hurry and I didn't want to mess with it at the time. But I thought I'd at least talk about it, and then today I'd show you changing the shins. All right, so I'm going to start taking the shin off. Again, there are only 2 bolts that hold this, so usually it's not that big a deal. I'm not sure on camera if you can see, but there's one head that's down here and the other one that's up here. So one bolt I get from behind the plow and the other one I have to get from underneath. So this one that's up on top, I guess I'll start with it first. And I just had these off last year, so they really shouldn't be that awfully difficult to get off. Well, maybe I spoke too soon. And we'll try the other one. That one was kind of a long bolt, and it's got kind of rusty on the outside, even though it was only on there for a year. So okay, so the lower bolt's out, or the nut's off of it, and I can actually pop it out just like that. So that one's done. The other one, what I'm going to probably do is cut it off from the back side, because this uses something called plow bolts, and the problem with them is there's nothing to hold on to on the head, so that when you get loosened a little bit and they come out of this hole, there's nothing to hold that bolt from turning. So on this one, what I'm probably just going to do is get my grinder and cut that off. So hang on for just a minute. Okay, and we'll get a hammer here and break that bolt off. The rest of the way, and now the shin comes off. That grinding took a little bit longer than it normally would because I had a grinding wheel on there rather than a cutting wheel, and because I was filming, I didn't want to take the time to change it. Okay, I wanted to take a minute and show you, now that I have that one shin off, just how much this stuff has worn. Yesterday, I changed the plow points or Plowshares. This is one of the ones I changed, and I have it laying on top of a brand new one that's never been on the plow. And you can see how much of this is worn off, especially over here. This is the actual point that goes, you know, this is the leading edge. It goes down into the ground. And you can see that that's worn way back. Again, it's worn back so far, it was ready to start wearing on the plow frame, which is not a good thing. When you change one of these plow points, this new one is about $33, if I'm not mistaken. The shins, which I'm changing today, again, I have them, you know, lined up so their back edges are even. And I really think they ought to make these a little bit wider, but that's how they do it. And you can see that there's about an inch worn off of here, and right in this area is where it starts to, the earth starts to come in contact with the frame of the plow, and, you know, to wear that down. So whenever you're changing these, the shins cost about $23, okay? The other two things that commonly wear that I showed you, the Landsides and the Landside wear plate, the Landsides themselves cost about $28, and those wear pads cost about $14. So for those four items, if you were to change them all on a given plow bottom, that would cost you almost exactly $100. And mine's a 4-bottom plow, so that would be $400 to change those common wear parts. The moldboard is very expensive, way over $100, and but luckily you don't have to change them very often. The other thing I wanted to show you was the kinds of bolts that are used in the shin. Like I just took off here a couple of minutes ago, they use this flat-headed bolt. It's called a plow bolt that has a square underneath, and it fits into the square hole inside of this indentation. So when you put it in, it sits flat, and that's because this is going against the ground, and that way it doesn't wear off. It wears down with the plow bottom. In contrast, now this is not the correct bolt that goes in there, but I wanted to show you, if you were just to put like a regular hex bolt in there and tighten it up, the bolt is above the surface of the shin, and it's not going to take real long for that bolt to wear off, and then whenever it does, your shin is going to come right off. So that's why they do these plow bolts. The plow bolts in the shares or points are a little bit different. They're not round, but they're a little more of a kind of a circle with two flat sides, and the hole is not exactly square, it's more oblong, but again, that bolt fits right in, and that way it sits flush with the surface of the point. So typically, because of the wear on them, you don't use the same bolts over again. That's why I didn't mind cutting that one that was giving me trouble on that last shin, because I have all new bolts to put in there. So just wanted to show you a little bit of what a person can expect in terms of wear. So now we're going to put the new shin in, and this isn't too tough of a process. I've already cleaned out this little L-shaped area here, of dirt that happens to get back there. On this shin, the small bolt goes on the bottom and the longer bolt goes, they're the same diameter, but the longer bolt goes on top because it's got more of the frame to go through here in the back. Okay, so now I'll get back here and get the nuts on. This one's a little bit more difficult to reach, but I'll get it. Just in kind of a difficult place to get the nuts started, but there we go. All right. And now we'll get our wrench, get it tightened up. Okay, and that should be good. All right, and one thing you'll notice is different. I don't know if you noticed this earlier, but when the old share was on here, or the old Shin with the new share, the Shin was actually worn back, and there was actually a step in here. Whenever all this stuff is new, and this is only about, you know, like just 1 day old or less, you know, these two should come out to about the same distance there and make a smooth surface the whole way up. So now I only have to do that 3 more times and I'll be done with this project. Like I said, I did the points yesterday. The other stuff is all good yet. So this should be, you know, pretty easy project here. Everything else should go just like this first one did. So I hope you enjoyed this look at the wear parts on a moldboard plow. If you like this video, I hope that you'll hit the like button and subscribe if you already haven't. If you have subscribed, I thank you for that. And if you think there's anything in this video worth sharing, please share it with somebody else that might be interested. So for now, this is Charlie, the Pennsylvania grain farmer, saying, see you next time.